I don't know if we're live yet. I'm hoping we are. I'm hoping we're gonna be. We're just gonna give it a few minutes. Just a couple of minutes to sort of feel stuff out, I think, before we get started into this. This is a review of Inside the Cable Temple by Omnipotent Youth Society, right? Yeah, Wikipedia really wants money. Well, they wants money at the moment. Gonna give it a few minutes. For anyone who's here, welcome to the live stream. I know that they don't necessarily start exactly when it's supposed to. I suppose this is the intro time, right? If you're watching this, this is my live stream of the my review of Omnipotent Youth Society's second album, which is Inside the Cable Temple. I have already done an entire album discography video on this act, and that's great. You know, I've done the whole video. So this is me sort of talking more about my thoughts on it as opposed to, trying to react to it. For anyone thinking this is going to be like a reaction or something like that, it's not. It's not going to be a reaction video. Sup, who have we got here? I'm actually just going to put you into the chat because I can't actually see that behind my camera. I can't see you behind my camera, mate. It's an absolute travesty. Who is this? I'm going to also have to Google how to say your name because I think that's the least I can do is figure out how to say your name, considering you've taken the time to come visit. So yeah, that's fine. So who do we have here? We have Deepal. Come on, Deepal. I need translations. Apparently, Deepal is saying that your name translates to small-fronted curtained carriage. So welcome to the live stream. How's it going? I added like a sup. There we go. Welcome to the live stream where today, as I mentioned, we're going, sup, Blue Dinner Box, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream today. This is again me just trying to review this album just for the sake of completion of the entire discography. The discography video for the Omnipotent Youth Society is going live after this at around 7 o'clock on the channel. And then for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be working on the Zhang Yuxing live review. I also plan on getting all 9 studio releases from Zhang Yuxing done by then, as well as the patron videos. So if you're an SB patron and you're watching this, please send those through. I will start the patron videos tomorrow. I'm not going to advertise Patreon and stuff here. This isn't the point of this live stream. This point of this live stream is more to sort of say, hello to people and welcome and stuff. This is just my thoughts on the album itself, and we can listen through it together because I understand that I've been meaning to do this album review for quite a while, and now we're doing it. Which is good. We're going to just wait maybe another minute and we're going to get started. If you guys have any other questions about things, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we should be good. There's 8 tracks in this album. One of them is 11 minutes. There are some very long songs in this album, but I can personally guarantee to you that every single one of these tracks is absolutely spectacular. It's phenomenal stuff. I do believe that I have the live streaming, I'm pretty sure that I have things set up with with this here. I do have closed captions enabled, which is good. Which is good. So I'll make that big again, just so everyone can see it. And we might as well get started. So with the first album, the first song off of this album is titled Morning. So we're just going to listen through each of these tracks from start to finish, hear what we think. We'll probably give some, I'll give my thoughts on each at the end, but they won't be as detailed as the video that's coming out later. But yeah, here we go. There aren't lyrics for this one, by the way. So I can't show those, but that's fine. I mean, it's such a peaceful intro, isn't it? I mean, it's such a lovely combination of brass. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be this friendly when I first heard it. I was wondering what's the rest of the album going to be like. But yeah, no, I think that's a wonderful piece of music. It's very different, I think, to a lot of what they had in the first album. The first album, they had like woodwinds and stuff like that, but I mean, they did have brass in the first one, I think. As I remember, if I remember it correctly, there's a bit more brass in this album as well. Some interesting sort of like extra new ingredients added to the mix. It's nonetheless a very satisfying piece to listen to, given the fact, it's an instrumental piece. It does sound like the morning. You know what I mean? It kind of sounds like you're waking up at the start of the day. It's full of life. There's some major tones, some suspended intervals and stuff like that. The, production quality as well as stellar. I'm super happy with the way that the tones and everything like that work together overall. It makes me wonder what we've got next. Well, I mean, I know what we've got next, to be fair. We've got this album is first created during trip driving through a forest. Is that right? I didn't realize that. I thought that this album was created over the course of the 10 years between the first and the second. If this is more inspired by a singular kind of moment, that's awesome. So thank you very much for sharing that. I appreciate that. If you guys, if you should have anything that you want to sort of like show me or like tell me about the album, I'm happy to hear it. Again, I've already done the entire review, but like the video, but I'm keen to learn more about this band because they're fantastic. The first track make me think about the light shading through the leaves. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it kind of reminds me of like the sunshine and everything like that. That's why I like the brightness of the various instruments. I think it's a really wonderfully symbolic piece of music that indicates the acumen, the musical acumen they've gathered over the 10 to 15 years they've been doing music. So I think they got started in 2006 or something like that. I could be wrong. But yeah, it really makes me excited, not only for the rest of the album, but also for what's going to happen in future tracks. Like if they're going to do another album in 2030 or something like that. But we're going to continue with Muddy River. Great start though. I mean, it's just so wonderfully layered with the different guitar parts, the glockenspiel, that being like one of the first. Who do we have here? We have Abalu, capital of Nauru. Welcome to the live stream. Thank you. If you mean this is a good choice of album, I would thoroughly agree. It is a phenomenal album, and I'm glad to be listening through it with you all today. I really do think that they've stepped it up. The C major 7 there is absolutely gorgeous. With the strings as well, man, it's just... It's just nice to have a string solo as well. Moments for the back and to shine with the rolling bass line. It's just awesome, dude. I mean, I've just found all these nooks and crannies to put little bits of instrumental kind of filling in. I mean, those upper harmonies are absolutely spectacular, man. And the drums becoming a little bit more intense too is a really nice touch. Some bluesy intonations there. What I like about that is the fact that they're not just having groups of 4 bars together, they're also extending the phrasing to have it cover over to the next part. Feedback and natural harmonics and tom fills is just the absolute groove, man. Oh. And how things just soar as well is tremendous. Call a response with the leads. And the brass as well, man. Harkening back to classic rock mixed with sort of like kind of funky infusions there, I suppose. Maybe sort of the swing, maybe I'm confusing that with the swing. Triplet groove. This kind of reminds me of a track off of their previous album, All the Pubs on This Planet. This track kind of reminds me of that, with the sort of jam aesthetic near the end, with I've got different instruments kind of improvising off of one another. I prefer this one though to All the Pubs, but simply because I think having being slightly shorter, having more of a focus on the vocals gives some sort of definition to why we're having all of those different instrumental parts later on. There's a great amount of exploration of the fact of not just having the vocal leads in this album overall. This track especially though, there's a sweetness to the way that the guy sings. And I love the way that we not only explore melodies in here, but also harmonies, I think, later on. But this track especially is just wonderfully fleshed out. It doesn't feel like 5 minutes 48. It doesn't feel like 5 minutes. It feels like 5 seconds, if I'm completely honest with you. I actually might give that one a like. I'm not sure why I wasn't more fond of that one during the listening time when I was reviewing the tracks for the discography review, but overall, sensational. And again, I just want to thank you all for watching this. If you have recommended me to listen through the second album, I am really glad I got the opportunity to do so. It is a phenomenal piece of work. Like, this album, just before we go to the next track, I think this album actually reached an international audience, and I've seen a lot of Western listeners listening to this album and sort of commiserating on, like, just how they, like, not commiserating isn't the right word. I think there's just a pure appreciation for how well this has been written and performed, not just from, like, a language story perspective, but also just simply from the perspective of it just being really, the music itself being sort of like transcending or bypassing the language barrier, if that makes sense. You can still enjoy it regardless. But yeah, no, great song. I like the it's masterful how they combine the different instruments within the arrangement, and all in all, just very satisfying. I know that it doesn't always remain this sort of semi-lighthearted though. We've got Cloud of Equality next, which is a little bit more sort of intense. It's so quiet with the flickering of the guitars on the side plus the feedback in the center. It's just very disconcerting. The whining and the wee wee and the boing 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 and all the sounds. I think that this is the kind of song where, like, if you've heard the whole album, it makes more sense. It's just crazy how quickly we went from that second track with the variety of different inputs to the song Cloud of Equality, where it just all comes down. And you've just got a silent little whisper in the mid-range, in the middle of the stereo field with the flickers on the side. It's tremendous sound design. I'm not sure what it means at this point, still even after. I mean, I know I said before that I think it makes more sense in context of the album, but that's simply because I think that actually that's a good point. You've got the audience got heated up in the second track, are forced to cool down here. I think that's absolutely correct. I completely agree with that. It's absolutely valid. I think when people make albums, it's really important that we try to have diversity in the intensities of the tracks so that it's not all the same all the time. It could just sound all the same otherwise, especially for Omnipotent Youth Society, an act where they have the ability to be so experimental and explorative with the wide variety of possibilities they have got for many different reasons. I am kind of glad. It's just, when the first time I listened to it, it sounded kind of creepy. That's where the confusion comes from. But if we look at it from purely a functional perspective where it's like, hey, it's been up here and then it needs to come down, I completely hear you. Absolutely. That's a very valid point. Thank you for putting that forward. But yeah, I don't think there's much more to say about that one because it's all about the down tempo, down kind of low vibe of it. We got our Quarrying next, track number 4, a long piece, but very, very good. Very good. There are vocals for this one. I'll give you guys the lyrics for this one. There's that ding that came before. Sup, Bulo Zhao? Welcome to the live stream. I would agree, beautiful acoustic chords indeed. I'm only stopping here because I want you guys watching this to realize this is the length of what an average ideal kind of pop song is nowadays, about a minute. 2 to 2.5 minutes is the ideal length, right? We're halfway through it, but it doesn't feel like we've been going for a minute, does it?
开采我的血肉的火光，发动新世界的前进的泡影，雷鸣交织爆破成动荡，此生再不会太行，捶打我天然的沉默，切割我卑微与困惑，面貌已生疏，前方模糊，灵魂在山口又回顾。
Because it isn't just that there's really pretty acoustic chords, it's also that they're combining some sort of unconventional, less attractive chords in a way that, like, isolated they're weird, but when put with everything else in here, it makes a lot of sense. It's also, I think, how gentle they're being with the overall delivery that really makes it incredibly palatable. And that ride work is sensational. And the keys here. Now, forgive me for this. Have Omnipotent been using keys in previous works? Because I don't think I really heard keys in that first album. Did I miss it? Because there's a double bass as well, which is wonderful. Because it's just nice to have a replacement lead in that point, something soft like the keys which works well as a foil to the vocals, and a similar frequency range when you've got a motif established, and especially with the amount of dexterity and depth we've been able to demonstrate up until this point compositionally, having a new instrument like this is absolutely fantastic.
身躯为范例，陌生语义其中凝聚，千座山峰化水泥。
Hi, Paul7031. How's it going? Welcome to the live stream. And hear how it just comes down here? The keys is call and response. See, I wasn't expecting another verse there, but I think a verse allows us to further explore the existing motif we have, give a bit of credence to the remaining 4 minutes of a 9-minute track, and it just makes me wonder what's going on next. Or is it a chorus? Might be a hook, actually. I apologize if that's the case. Those keys, man. Ooh. This is where it gets kind of chaotic, eh? If it's a bit uncomfortable, just stick with it. Back with our saxophone, or including the saxophone. You can just feel how it's starting to build and build and build. Kind of sounds like the saxophone's crying out, doesn't it? This is the epitome of composition. I mean, the studio production, it may be incredibly uncomfortable, but it's on purpose. That got me again, man. Look, that song Quarrying is an absolute stellar track all round. It's like, the reason I said it was the epitome of composition was that we didn't just know how to play our instruments well, how to write for them, to be able to illustrate their strengths and work not as well as sort of niche into each other. But we managed to use those instruments to sort of communicate something beyond music. It was not just playing notes and chords and harmonies and melodies and stuff like that in a way that was meant to hint at what was going on. It was just, again, the screaming of the saxophone and amongst all the sort of Foley-ish kind of sounds. Now, that might have been like synths with like noise oscillators and stuff like that in that last part. But what I think they've really kind of leaned into in this album is the idea of it just not being a song, but being an experience. That is part of what makes progressive stuff like this so incredibly cool, and I adore it. Again, there was chaos in that 6 to 7 minute mark, but I think that was on purpose, and they did a tremendous job of, as Paul said. Paul here has said this song has a section that imitates the sound of mountain explosions, which left a deep impression on me. I agree, Paul. It left an impression on me too. This was a quite an emotionally charged album. Not that the first one wasn't, but this one, hearing it for the first time, I didn't feel the need to front or react or emote a certain way. Like, I never do, but especially not on my own, right? Because no one's, it's just, it got me, man. It was like that silence after the explosion, everything clicks. Even if you don't necessarily understand the language, you can kind of put the title and the sounds together. And who do we have here, though? Who do we have here? Wang Yuxing, welcome to the live stream. Thank you for coming. Thanks to all of you for coming to this live stream, by the way. Hopefully it's been okay so far. I know it's been a while since I live streamed. Just a reminder to anyone watching this that I will be, there will be a video for Omnipotent Youth Society's discography going live on the channel later today. I'm going to have to finalize the subtitles, of course, to make sure they're all good, but I think we should be fine. They might not be perfect at first, but I plan on working on the subtitles over the week just to make sure they're all but there are like notes in the discography video so that you can read through those or translate them via screen translators or something like that. The TLDR, the video is going live at 7 in an hour and a half's time, so this is just kind of a way of tying things up with both albums before I move on to the the big Zhang Yuxing discography review due before Christmas. But thank you to all watching so far. I really appreciate it. This is an amazing album, for sure. And Quarrying was just a spectacular example of their prowess across the board. But we have a Chickadee, track number 5, which I am excited for. It's a catchy vocal melody. I think this is one that's sort of more phrased as kind of like a quote-unquote single, if they're looking to do that. Because they had a few interlude tracks or like kind of breathing tracks, a few massive ones, and we've got like a couple big ones near the end, but I love the shakers and the guitar combo, man. It's dope. And the woodwinds make a return. Great rhythmic adjustment and contrast there.
生活里线，并肩茫茫人野荒。
An adjustment there with like the oboe or the clarinet there. Can any of you shredders tell me how many different instruments have solo sections in this album, do you think? I'd say it'd be at least a dozen different instruments have individual solo sections. Yeah, excellent. Oh, and the vocals come up. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Definitely guitar, flute, and piano. Yep, for sure. So there are gonna probably be a few more, I'd say. I vaguely remember. But there's also just been a lot of sections where there've just been instrumental breaks, which kind of sound like they could be solos, but they're just that technical that they just... It's more like it's an overall ambience or something. But thank you for keeping track. I appreciate that. The vocal harmonies here are exquisite though, aren't they? Hi, Diwoo. No, you're not too late. We've at least still got probably my 2 favorite tracks to go. But we are over halfway. We're just a bit more efficient today, I think, because we're being, yeah. But welcome anyways. Oh man. And I know that it does a thing here where it transfers to the next track, so I know that that's kind of part of it. So we'll probably go back to the end of Chickadee and go into Detour, just so we have the smoothness there. What I liked about Chickadee is that when the singer goes up into their head voice and there's a bit of vocal fry, it's just tremendous. You just get a real sense of, oh, there's a bit of angst, there's a bit of kick to it, you know. Because for a lot of this album, and in the original one as well, there's like one point, I think, in the last track of the previous album where we kind of have a bit of kind of extra kind of, like, he kind of screams, you know, for obvious reasons. But with this one, he just, like, there's just that difference there, night and day, between the two sides of different verses. And it's just such clever stacking, you know, structurally, of having the chest voice and then the head voice in that second part, you know, ascending with the woodwinds and stuff like that. I enjoy the fact that each of these tracks throughout the album so far has had their own sense of identity. They have also been incredibly... And I'm being incredibly positive about this simply because, you know, going through the entire discography, I really couldn't fault any parts of it aside from bits that were just... I was like one little thing on the side of like one of the tracks in the other album I didn't necessarily appreciate, like mixing wise. That they're such savants with the way they write and perform. And like the only thing I'd say with like the vocals is I think the vocals being so consistent with the mood and delivery for the most part is kind of part of what helps to tie it all together, because you kind of know that's a comfy place no matter how crazy the instrumental performance gets. I think the post-production on this album is also better as well. Not that the original album was not good, it was good, but I think that this one is particularly great. But we're just going to start again from the end of Chickadee, so we get dun 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 dun, that riff kind of rolling over, and then we're going to just continue, okay? We're going to continue into Detour. So this is Detour now, track number 6. I got a really itchy nose. I'll just be a moment. That's better. My nose kind of hurts now, but that's okay. The fizziness of those guitars, though, man, they're tremendous. And it just moves with like the walking bass, dude. Because it's like two things. One, it's the moodiness of the guitar riffs, the way they're performed. It's not just the note choices, but also like the relative softness and like the kind of not wanting to fully commit to some of those tones. So you get like the kind of the blur of the overdrive or whatever. But it's also just the guitars going between different parts of the stereo field as well, with like the ride groove and the drums, and just the constant chord note accents and stuff like that. It's just tremendous. And then back into the heaviness, dude, with the brass on top. Or guitars? And the effects changes are interesting as well. It's just a fun sound, man. It's very confusing though. I'm not sure what it's meant to represent. So we've got 4 solos now. We've got like a guitar, flute, piano, and saxophone solo. And it just ends like that, man. It just comes and it goes. They not only know how to do their longer form factor tracks, but they've also got the short ones down. I mean, like I think both Chickadee and Detour could both be singles if they wanted them to be. I think just to open themselves up to a bigger audience potentially. I can see that Chickadee has a bigger amount of listens, which doesn't surprise me. Like, I think Chickadee has 2 million plays. That makes sense to me. It's definitely a catchy track with the intro vocal line, I think, sort of snaring people in. And I think when you've got so much range to this album, it's a smart move to have a track in there to kind of lure people in, if that makes sense, in not a weird way. But just this sensational kind of chemistry between the saxophone and the guitar in this one. I was kind of wanting the guitar more to commit to like a dedicated lead section at the end there. I think the tone that we had was great, but I think we just wanted to keep it short and sweet. And I don't have any issues with that personally. I'll give that. Why did I not give? What is that 4th track? The 3rd track, right? Do I like Detour? I do, but I don't love it. I'm not sure. I don't, as an instrumental track, I'm not sure how it relates to the previous tracks, if that makes sense. I think it would have probably been a love if it had more of a dedicated guitar solo, but maybe that's just biased because I play guitar. But otherwise, incredible. It's a great song. It was a nice little kind of a break before we go into Hey B Mochi Lin. This is a hell of a tune, but I'm not going to spoil it. We're just going to listen through it together. And let me know what your favorite song off of the album is if you like, because I mean I can't tell you what my favorite song is because that would spoil the discography video. But almost kind of dubbish. What's up, Kylan Liu? Welcome to the live stream. Bulo Xiao? Absolutely. Like, I think so. I shouldn't. Yep. The drums are phenomenal. Like, do you hear those drum grooves? I'm a drummer. I know those grooves are hard, man. Those are some hard drum grooves, man. The guy's a beast. Awesome percussionist. A little bit chaotic with the guitar harmonies, but, you know, still good. Still a vibe. Because it's in 5/4, isn't it? Kind of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's gorgeous, man. And those ghost notes are so quiet, but they're so precise. What I like is that they're not just harmonizing in major or minor thirds. I think those are fourths. Those are fourth intervals. It's really fascinating, tonally. Trumpet. Here we are back. I agree, D-Woo, it is a bit math rockish for sure. Not that that's a bad thing. Like, how many people do you think were involved in this album? Like, how many different performers? Did they double track? Mysterious, eh? And back down. Excellent reinterpretation of that motif. See, this is how you flesh out a track with a melody that you kind of enjoy and want to stick with for the sake of, for the sake of progression, I suppose. You know, you put it on different instruments, establish a different set of backings, and allow it to have different sort of sets of moods, depending on how it's sort of relayed. It's just wonderful, man. And it's freeform in the tempo as well, which is kind of dope. Such tension with the strings though, right? Great that the vocals were into her, man.
看看眼远望，共有名到这个心电图。世事冰冷啊，如云涉水的精神书。看看眼远望，共有名到这个心电图。
Great trade-off. I love it. Gosh, shred can't he? That was one of the fiercest solo sections I've heard in quite a while. I don't think I wait. And the crying out as well as just here we go. And just those sounds over top. Oh. I didn't think it'd get me a second time, man. Oh, man, that track. Far out, it got me again, dudes. Like, and the bottles, right? The bells. Like, those screams, they sound furious. They sound absolutely furious. And as someone who is not a native speaker of the language, I'm not sure what's being said here, but I can imagine maybe it's like Paul 7931 says Kirin's roar. I'm not sure what that means. Is that like, can someone please elaborate on Kirin's roar? It does sound like something is screaming and they're just utterly distressed, and it's ferocious and it's overpowering. It's not just a complete sort of display of force from the entire act with their way to stack instruments, create really compelling themes, perform stuff incredibly eloquently, and just completely slay that 11.5-minute form factor. But it's also putting those sounds at the end just to really kind of catch you. And it just hits you in the stomach. And it's just, it's amazing. It's so impressive. I think it's like track 4. They've not just got the fundamentals down and gone beyond that. Again, it's an experience. I adore this one. B Mochi Lin is a tour de force. And it demonstrates the growth that Omnipotent Youth Society have made. Not that it was like a lesser time with the previous album, but it just seems a little bit more this time. There's more of they just seem, I don't know how to describe it. I'll think on that, but you know, it's utterly compelling. We just got one more track to go though. Cable Temple. By the way, after reading through the comments, your Shredder is talking about how for most of you, this is your favorite track. If it's not, it's this one we're going to do now. I completely understand why you guys like this music. I completely get it. Here we go. All right, last track for today, Cable Temple. But I also agree that this album should be listened to from start till finish. I think I agree with that. It's just so much more kind. Just with the soft strings. Really friendly guitar motif. It's just lovely, man. I think part of what makes this emotionally affecting is just, you know how soothing the voice is, and you have the head voice and the chest harmonized on either side. It's like you're being wrapped in a really lovely, comfy blanket. Oh, man. Kind of sounds like you're sitting around a campfire, you know? I don't mind the ukulele or whatever that is on the right. It's a little bit present for my tastes, but I think that the vocals on the side, when they layer on top, smooth it nicely. See, when they're coming on the left with the strumming, that makes sense to me from a stereo field perspective, because then you've got both things on the side kind of balancing it out. I think it's kind of cool that we are attempting to not just have everything thrown at the listener at once. I think for a longer form factor track like this, it makes sense to stage them, and that kind of in equilibrium. It kind of makes it feel like something needs to be put there, which is why it's very nice when that comes. The last song sings, "It's not your fault. Don't be so self-blamed." Oh, yeah, that's a lovely message. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me know what that means. Sincerely, I'm glad I know what that means now. That makes sense. Great violin solo here, man. Or a fiddle, I suppose. Or just the string section, I suppose. Sup, Jimmy Sun? Welcome to the live stream. How's it going?
燕园事业，点燃世界，共享富裕，共享恐惧。
Really high strings on the left, kind of sound like they're whistling, right?
涌上街头，街头嘈杂，公共聋哑，经济换点蓝。
What I kind of appreciate about this album, or this track, should I say, is the consistency of the theme after all of the chaos in the previous track. Yeah, it's just wonderful. Again, with what we had before, talking about it's not your fault, don't be self-blamed. It's just nice to have that moment of just kind of being able to have things just come down and for a minute to be a little bit kind of less kind of intense. They've managed to make this a journey, and I'm so glad that they have. It's sensational. It's just my impression the lyric is about the digital era and pain from fast development. Yeah, I can imagine that would be the case. I can imagine that there would be some pretty strong opinions about that as well. Industrialization and stuff like that. I think it's a good thing to write music about, and I'm glad that Omnipotent Youth Society feel that they can write music like this because they're damn good at it, you know? I thought you had a long time to not do the live stream. Miss you so much, Jimmy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being away. I can't really go into why I was away, aside from the fact that I just needed to sort of I needed to recalibrate and figure out what I was doing. I'm back doing this live stream now. You know, I like doing live streams. It's just that I wanted to make sure that if I did a live stream, it was gonna like be the best that I could do. And I felt like I was, you know, not doing the best live streams I could. So I figured if I went away and kind of recalibrated, it could be better. With the discography videos that I'm going to be putting out, I do want to like live stream my favorite album from each of those to kind of talk about what I like about it. And I figure if you guys, your shredders, can like let me know what artists you'd like me to do discographies of, then that's beneficial to you all too. I think that's a good way to move forward with the channel. He wrote lyrics as a writing poem. It's deep and meaningful. Even Chinese listeners can't get them all. Again, with the Zhang Yuxing live stream, thank you, Diwu. I appreciate that. I think that, yeah, poetry can just be difficult, but I'm glad that we have it nonetheless. And it's nice to be able to not just have everything just kind of given to you easily. It's great to have something to kind of chew on and think about, right? But yeah, there will be more live streams in future. It's just that they might not be as often, simply because I want to make sure if there is one, it's good times, you know? You know, it is a good thing to communicate with others, and it's nice to share musical tastes and stuff. I'm sincerely glad that I get to do this with y'all, because if I'm honest, I've already listened through these albums by myself and I've reviewed them, right? So it's nice to be able to talk to y'all, and I mean this genuinely. It's nice to be able to talk to y'all and hear your thoughts and compare them with mine, as I also know that like there is stuff I might miss that you might know, and it helps me to understand it better, especially with the lyrics, you know? So thank you to all for watching, and thank you for your support. There will be more live streams, and I just want you to know I do enjoy them. I wanted to make sure they were good. Okay? And I'm hoping this was a better live stream. Even if I paused a bit, it's just, we've gone quickly though, to be fair. It's only an hour 11.
循环追不离
I love the song to pieces though. It's a fantastic one.
循环追不离我有迷魂额头滚烫
I kind of like the dissonance with the strings here.
迷魂人间明暗鸟兽万语
But
危
that's
险消息自然有意自然躲避细嚼有迷离诸君出重围细嚼有迷离诸君出重围
Isn't it incredible?
人间明暗人间明暗人间明暗
And it's not just the fact that we have an iteration of the vocals and how well they're done with that really sort of like calming, sort of like, again, just a really wonderfully pretty guitar harmony. It's that we have the little pokey bits of little light ukulele or the sweet little woodwind parts on the sides kind of surrounding you and creating this really big fuzzy aura to it. It's really dreamlike,
人间明暗人间明暗人间明暗
And the bottles at the end.
新语言旧语言该怎样回答
I'm getting chills, guys.
世界星河下电子荒原一万场冷暖一望你无人
Oh, that's so magical. I feel like my whole entire body is just sparkling right now. What an amazing album. Cable Temple, what an amazing track. It's such a contrast to Hey B Mochi Lin for different reasons. I know you guys have mentioned what the song's about, and I appreciate you giving me, like, we've got Under the Stars, the electronic wasteland, billions of colds and warms, billions of mudslickers. There's some really deep, heavy stuff that's being discussed in these lyrics, but again, as someone who doesn't speak the language, I miss out on that, and all I can take is from how the music sounds and the vocal performance there. But from what I've gotten from you guys sort of helping me to figure stuff out, I think that the way it's been sung and has been kind of mirrored that in a sense. How do I describe it? Kind of mirrored that in a sense. What does that even mean? It's more like it's just they know how to get the music to sound like what they were talking about, and they know how to perform in a way that's appropriate for what they're talking about without, so that people can like understand it without needing to know what the words mean. That's what I'm kind of getting at. You can kind of interpret their direction regardless of whether it's an instrumental or like a vocal led track. Not that most of these were. Like to be fair, like Cable Temple was quite vocal led, and I think that Chickadee as well is more like the kind of poppy thing. And I will note that a lot like it makes sense to me that Chickadee was the more sort of popular one considering how vocal oriented it is, because people like a story, right? I would say that this track hits the hardest when you listen through it from start to finish, like the entire album. It's such the way that it just crescendos at the end with the strings, with that kind of almost like in New Zealand, really quickly, we used to have this thing called Goodnight Kiwi, where at the end of like when TVs would stop having shows, there'd be this cartoon with like a kiwi bird with a sleepy hat, and he would like tell everyone to go to sleep. That's the way I felt about that last little bit there at the end with the minor major switching kind of up and crescendoing there. It was a wonderful piece of music that was relatively compositionally simple in regards to like the rest of the tracks, or in contrast to the rest of the tracks, but was nonetheless thoroughly effective. I think that if anything, just before I go into the conclusion, Cable Temple demonstrates that Omnipotent Youth Society do not need to be thoroughly progressive and sort of like transformative in their approach to their tracks in long form in order for them to be engaging and interesting the entire way through. They can also have a main motif with little bits of variation with the progressions and bass lines, etc. And they do have different instruments in there, but they are just as capable of making a 9-minute 40 sort of more sort of like through composed traditional kind of vocal led thing. Then if they could do it both ways basically. I want to talk about my overall thoughts in the conclusion, but it's worth bearing in mind that this is going to be very similar again to the discography video I put out later today, like in like I don't know 40 minutes time. So there may be slightly different details here. You know, at least if you've watched this, you can hear my thoughts on the first album again. They're refreshed ones. But anyways, look. It's conclusion time. The overall album. My thoughts on this album is that it is some of the best progressive rock I've heard in my entire life. Each and every track within this album is an absolute pleasure. The overall theme, I think it's about like people starting out nice and sort of like humble, maybe things are good vibes and stuff. And then with like the explosions of the quarrying and stuff like that, and maybe B Mochi Lin or whatever it is. Yeah, Mochi Lin is like a place where like a devastating thing occurred. I think that this album is kind of going from the starting point to the middle of the industrialization where things suddenly go terribly wrong. And then it's about letting the listener know, hey, this happened to you, but it's not your fault. You're not responsible for what these other people are doing, you know. I think like when I look at it like that, it's a tremendous piece of work. It is a concept album that is solid from start till finish. I do maintain there'd probably be more of an understanding of what's going on within the track if you were able to understand the lyrics, but I nonetheless had a phenomenal time without it, in the same way that I don't really honestly listen to I like if I'm honest with you guys, I've never really given two cares about English lyrics. Like I don't really care about the lyrics in English songs. I don't know if that makes sense. When I review music, I only really listen to, because this is going to sound completely insane potentially. When I review music, I only listen to the lyrics to know what the song is about. I don't really care about how, like, I want the focus to be on the vocals connecting with the lyrics in a way that makes sense. That's more important to me as a reviewer than having like a completely like wordplay laden innovative slam poetry session or something like that. Because I think that as a music reviewer, I don't necessarily have the ability to review storytelling like from like a writing perspective, if that makes sense. I know that lyricism is so fundamental to it, but at the same time, I think that if your song is ruined by the lyrics, then like how do I describe it? It's complicated. I think I'm going to dig myself a hole. If we just go back here, Erwin C says the final crescendo elevates Cable Symbol so much. It's the sort of slightly hopeful yet with a hint of uneasiness, which really sums up the album. I would agree, Erwin. Absolutely. Welcome to the live stream, by the way. Absolutely. I think that there is a wonderful amount of maturity here with the composition. And I think that it demonstrates the effort put in to not only grow as musicians and artists and songwriters, but also to sort of just extend themselves beyond what they managed to accomplish with the original. So I've talked about what the track's about. The vocal performances were incredible. I think that it's wonderful how they sang. There was the typical kind of calmness and the soothing nature of the vocals, which I enjoy from Omnipotent Youth Society. That hasn't really changed from the one released 10 years ago. The voice sounds a little more sort of polished now. Not that it wasn't good before, it was great before, but there's a bit more clarity with it. It's like a post-production thing, I'm not sure. I liked the fact that we sort of like, we stacked the lows and highs when needed to, such as in tracks like, Cable Temple. But I also like the fact that I'm not sure if that was our singer in B Mochi Lin, if that was screaming out or yelling out. I love the fact that if anything with the vocals here, we not only had really compelling, interesting vocal melodies and harmonies, we got great head, chest, voice control, etc., but we also we did more to kind of really show the intensity of it. We mirrored, I think, the extra amount of grit required to really demonstrate the kind of murkiness of what we might be discussing within the subject matter. I think that the contrast between the vocal performances and maybe I'm talking about Quarrying, but there was some parts where like we got really fierce with the vocal parts, and then like that was completely sort of juxtaposed to Cable Temple, and I liked that we're showing more sort of like range with the emotional side of things, if that makes sense. I know there was a bit of that in the previous album, but like I noticed that more here. I could be confusing who did what vocal part, but regardless, vocals are fantastic, sings great. The track at 44 minutes had a mixture of shorter tracks, more like interludes or sort of like staging pieces to kind of introduce the next one. I think that we had a comment earlier where we were talking about how we needed a break after the second one for the third. I think that's absolutely valid. It's nice to have a bit of a slowdown there. I think having a couple of sort of more kind of short single parts there after Quarrying was good, because Quarrying was ferocious with the explosion at the end as well as everything else. But I don't think we could have gotten away with putting something between B Mochi Lin and Cable Temple. We just needed those two to be paired together as an A and B sort of side. And I think that was wonderful. Again, it was a journey from start to finish. There was absolutely no filler in any of the tracks there. We were capable of doing through composed and more traditional sort of tracks, such as the tracks 5 and 6, where there were sort of three. There was a 3 minute sort of more kind of like singly kind of one was more vocal oriented, with 243 being another instrumental. We handled long form pieces as well with ease. It was just masterful. If I talk about a few of my favorite instruments throughout this album, I'd say the guitars. Whether there were the sort of steel string kind of finger picked arpeggiated kind of stuff. It's just tremendous. Like, we had such a range with the guitars, whether they were the clean sort of steel string parts. I was just reading through Erwin's message as well. I'll get to that in a moment. But also, sup Shinyida, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream. We've just about finished, but it's good to see you and thank you for coming along. I keep... It's nice to talk to people. I haven't live streamed in a while. It kind of gets lonely just kind of reviewing stuff offline, but it's got to be done in the sense, at least for fair use kind of stuff, I suppose. But like, anyways, what was I talking about? Guitars, a great range there, not just majors and minors, sus, extensions, all sorts of stuff. But there was also some really incredible lead work, like in B Mochi Lin with that solo, just incredible finesse on the strings. Like, the lead phrasing was absolutely transcendent. It was exactly what I wanted, I think, from the first album here. We just put it on sort of like steroids, and it was so vibrant and full of life, incredibly just like expressive. We knew when to pull back with the guitar parts. We knew how to play chords, arpeggios, melodies, whatever that would suit the mood. We were minimalist with our ornamentation when needed to, but we sort of really showed off when we had a chance to sort of play around. And we also were very expressive with the way we played. We didn't just play the same loudness the entire time. There were some tracks where we sort of pulled back a little bit. It was a bit softer, a bit sort of more moody, I think. Detour was one of those ones. But we had great dynamic range with it as well. With thorough kind of like understanding of how to get the best out of that instrument in particular. The bass. It wasn't just bass guitars. It was like double bass and other instruments. And I think that it was a tremendous choice to go between the double basses and the normal sort of bass guitar. The double bass, just especially if it's like plucked, like finger plucked, it's just got a real kind of wholesome kind of boost to it, a presence that niches well with the swing grooves and triplet parts that we had there. It's a kind of organic kind of flavor to the composition and performance and tone that I really am enamored with, and I really want a double bass. I really want a double bass. Honestly, like I just need to get myself a bigger studio so I can have all the instruments I want. But life's, got to do a few. Give it time, But double bass, the double bass parts there with the walking parts, a little bit sort of flurry with like the electric bass occasionally, just generally incredibly atmospheric and suited the mood of the guitars and everything else within the mix. The drums were absolutely spectacular. I appreciate the way that we had just some of the stuff, and again, at Hey B Mochi Lin, just some of the quiet stuff with the ghost notes and everything like that was absolutely stellar. It's transcended. It's so precise and so intimate, and it's a thorough exploration and advancement of something that a lot of people kind of sleep on, the drums. And the percussionist for Omnipotent Youth Society is a pro. They blew my mind, honestly. Like the second listen, I'm kind of glad I live streamed this album review simply because of the fact that without having heard this album a second time, I don't think I would have really paid attention to those drums. It's just awesome, man. It blows me away. It blows me away. Just what they were able to accomplish with it. And it's such a relative quietness as well. Like, I don't know if you guys are aware, I've probably talked about it as much as I need to, but just in case you weren't already sick of me talking about it, I don't know if you guys are aware of how difficult those drum parts were. They are incredibly difficult. They are absolute savants. The keys. The key part that we had in one of the songs, or in a few of them maybe, but the keys especially, I think it was track number 4, Quarrying. The key solo around the 5 to 6 minute mark is absolutely what I needed. Absolutely spectacular. We had a slower, kind of more gentle introduction to the piano earlier in the piece there, as I don't think it's something we had in the previous album. I'm looking forward to their third album too, Kyle and Liu. I'm looking forward to their third album too. I will be I'll be 39 at that point, so hopefully, I don't know if hopefully I'll still be reviewing music at that point. I don't intend on stopping anytime soon, but yeah. The piano was wonderfully phrased. We followed the fundamentals of not doing too much at the start, kind of allowing ourselves more space later on. And ultimately, it was very colorful and a necessary kind of part of the mid to high range of that particular track in general. I just also want to give a couple of shout outs as well to the strings. Wonderfully textured in there. There was some sort of like really pretty higher accents in cable tempo, but also the smoothness of the strings throughout the album in the mid-range there, as well as some of the sort of like mid-range fiddle parts as well. We had kind of calling, responding with each other was wonderful. It was a nice sort of shift with the leads. The woodwinds that we had there with some of the flutes or like clarinets or something like that, really kind of elegant as well. A different type of sound that pierced the mix in a way that was welcome and just found a niche in the stereo field and frequency spectrum that was just, like sensational. And then finally the brass, like the saxophone, the trumpets, they were nice and bright in the mid to high range, and they were not only used as an instrument to kind of provide an alternate lead, but they also harmonized nicely on the sides as well with the vocals in some parts, I think, as well as the guitars, bass, drums, and everything else. It's an incredibly complicated piece of work compositionally with the instrumental layers. It's like it's mind blowing. I don't know how they managed to put it all together, and I think I talk about that in the discography review as well. But like all in all, just instrumentally damn near flawless. I think, you know, the themes overall, they suited what I thought the track names talked about. It's just too much to go through each track when I've already spoken about them individually with their various themes. I think it's just suffice to say, if there was a song and it had a title, you could listen to it without knowing the lyrics and understand how it related to that. It yeah. You just could. There was a great overall sense of like a wide variety of styles. There was like rock and blues and funk and jazz and dubbish kind of stuff like that. There was math rock, as people pointed out. There's some progressive elements there, even some sort of like kind of classic rock or metal-y parts occasionally. Orchestral, symphonic parts, almost like it just boggles. It boggles the mind. And some ambient stuff, like with track 3, Cloud of Equality, where it was just space with parts on the side and it was sound design. Full range of different ingredients here. Take whatever suits and listen to the whole thing in your own time and please enjoy. Finally, studio recording, mixing and mastering. Absolute banger. There was only 1 or 2 parts where I wasn't sure about there was like a ukulele on this side where I was like, does that need to be that loud? It just seemed like it could have gone down 0.25 or 0.5 or something like that. But then they had the vocals come on top and it mellowed. And then they had it on the other side and it sounded even. I think that was potentially like a deliberate thing they were trying to do there. All in all, though, like that's one part of like a 44-minute album. And I still think that it was an absolute masterclass in studio production as well. The vocals, you know, the guitar, bass, strings, brass, piano, like all of the different elements there were nicely niched into frequency spectrum and stereo field. There were no resonant frequencies within it. And it's just, you know, like it wasn't over-engineered. They were just really phenomenal vocal takes and instrumental takes and recordings. And like, honestly, I don't see how you could have possibly improved upon it with studio recording. Aside... This is the thing, though. I really should just give it a 9 or a 10. I think a few, just to be clear, like I have been giving them scores out of 10. A few of these tracks got like a 9 or a 9.5 with various elements. Like this is an incredibly highly ranked album. I'd say it's probably one of my favorite albums. This one, like there are only two albums, right? Two albums that I've ever heard where like I have felt that way at the end of it. I can't remember the first one, and this is the second. It annoys me to no end that I cannot remember the first one, but it's okay. Just, there's phenomenal dynamic range. It's nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting is handled. And just before we sign out, Erwin C, I'm glad you like this album so much. For some reasons, a lot of Chinese internet refuse to believe they're likable to foreigners. They are likable to foreigners, man. Like, I've seen people on Reddit and stuff say that they enjoy the album. It's just simply that I just wouldn't know. I just wouldn't know about this album if you all hadn't told me about it. I think the thing that we want to do in these situations, and it's totally up to you, is just share when you can, man. Just find a way to invite people to get involved. If you can, and you don't have to, but that's what I would recommend, because you've shared it with me, and we're here now. We've just reviewed the entire discography, man. And it's the same with like Zhang Yusheng and artists like that. You know, like, oh, it's so cool. Diwu says, I would blame them for taking too long to... Yeah, I mean, good things take time, I suppose, but I also understand that it'd be cool to get more albums more often. I just don't know if it'd be the same quality if they were that often. But look, thank you all for watching my review of the second album from Omnipotent Youth Society titled Inside the Cable Temple, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go check them out via the various social medias and their Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. Sorry, just before I forget, again, final time mentioning this, Omnipotent Youth Society discography review will be coming out in about half an hour. I'm just going to quickly check that there are captions. I don't think the captions are going to be super perfect, so I'll probably work on them over the week to try and tighten them up. I'll make a comment on that on the video, but everything else should be good. So hopefully you guys watch that. You know, please stay cool, stay safe, and remember to support your... Let me try that again. Stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you all in the next live stream. It'll probably be my... Because, again, if I'm doing a Zhang Yuxing discography, it'll probably be one of the albums I haven't reviewed yet that I like that will be doing that weekend, and I'll choose that album, and hopefully people will be okay with that. But yeah, I'll see you then. Have a great weekend. Stay cool, shredders. Spiderhands out. Thank you for coming along to this live stream. I've really enjoyed spending time with you.